Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate you being on the call and taking time out of your day to join us. Today, we're excited to talk about the two indexed universal life products that are offered by United of Omaha. Really want to cover today on how they can help your clients and how simple these products really are. I'm Brad Lewis with Premier Marketing. And on the phone with us today, also doing the presentation, is Sandy Petrie, Sales Director for United of Omaha. So I'm going to turn the call over to Sandy and let her run us through the webinar today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Brad. It's my pleasure to be here today to talk to you about these simplified issue, these IUL products that we have available. We actually have two IUL products that are fairly new to us, and both of them include a brand new LTC rider that can be added. So what I want to do today, first of all, is to talk to you about these products, a little bit how they work and how simple that they are, and then I'll talk about how competitive they are versus some of the other carriers and how to compare them, and then talk about the long-term care rider. So our suite of products includes Income Advantage. This product is the accumulation-focused product. Life Protection Advantage. This is protection-focused, as the name implies. Both use a simple product design. So we have one index that we use for the crediting. That is the Standard & Poor's 500. And we use an annual point-to-point crediting method. We really don't believe that you need fancy crediting methods in order to offer your clients upside potential. It's often confusing for them, and sometimes it's confusing for the agent. So straightforward, simple design that works. Both use the same crediting strategies with different participation rates and caps. So the Income Advantage has a 100% participation rate, 11.5 cap. A higher participation rate at 140, and that's 8.5 cap. And then there's a lower participation rate at 65%, and that is uncapped. And then as you can see, the Life Protection Advantage, the caps there are 9.5, 7.5, and then the uncapped. Both have the same floor of 0. So if the index does not perform, the client is not going to lose their money. But both are designed to have a very low cost. So the internal costs on these policies are extremely low, which makes them more likely to illustrate or to perform as illustrated. And they both have the same indexed and fixed loans options. The value-added features of these products, which is kind of unique in the industry, is the guaranteed refund option. So we have this on some of our other universal life products, but we did actually include this on the IUL. It's a safety net for the clients. If the policy doesn't perform, or if the client is just leery that the product is not going to perform because of the index and what's happening in the stock market, this is a safety net for them because they can get their premiums back. They are 7 60-day windows in which they can surrender their policy and receive their premium back. So the way that works, they get up to 50% of the premiums back at the end of year 15, and then up to 100% at the end of years 20, 21, all the way through 25. So we really don't expect people to use this, again, on this index policy, but it's a great selling feature, and there's no other carrier in the market that offers this type of guaranteed refund option. This policy also automatically includes an accelerated death benefit rider for terminal and chronic illness, and that's at no cost. So what those riders do is if the person should become terminally ill, they can surrender their policy and receive 80% of their face value. If they're chronically ill, meaning they're unable to perform 2 of the activities of daily living, or they have a severe cognitive impairment, they can receive 80% of their face value, of the specified initial face value, or up to $1 million. and that could be available to them to accelerate out of their policy in a lump sum check that would be paid directly to them to use for that chronic care, or basically whatever they want to use it for. Maybe they need some home modifications, etc. Keep in mind, they can accelerate, again, up to that maximum of 80% or $1 million, but it is limited to a yearly cap based on the IRS per diem. So the IRS per diem, all that is a IRS code that states that if you withdraw more than $130,000 out of a policy for a chronic illness each year, that could be subject to tax. So we do limit the amount over a 12-month period up to that IRS per diem, which changes each year, or could change each year, and it generally increases. But collectively, 80% or $1 million they can accelerate out of their policy. And keep in mind, these policies are age last birthday pricing, just like our other products. So let's talk specifically about the Income Advantage. So we released this product in March of 2016, and as far as the performance so far, it's always hit the cap on the high participation rate and the 100% participation rate, and the max credit on the uncapped is 13.73, and the minimum that was credited is 7.85. So it's the market's performing well, so the product's performing well. But let's look about how we compare in accumulation to some of the other carriers. So let's say we have a client, a male, age 50, preferred. He has $1 million face amount. He pays $20,000 annually for 15 years, so his total investment's $300,000. And again, we use the S&P 500 point to point. So what you'll see here is that the cash values in years 10, 20, and 30 for the various carriers, and then also the illustrated rate. So the illustrated rate is the maximum that the carrier will allow to be illustrated based on their software. So let's look how this performs. So in year 10, if you look at Mutual of Omaha, the year 10 cash value is just over $228,000 versus some of the other carriers, which are lower. The 20-year cash value is right at $550,000. And the cash value in year 30, $993,000. Now, there are some carriers that are a little bit higher, but then again, you have to look at the illustrated rate. So our illustrated rate is 6.72%. Some of them are lower, some of them are higher. So some of those carriers that have a higher projected cash value in year 30 also have a higher illustrated rate. How do we compare as far as fees? Okay, so these are policy fees, etc., that's built into the policy. So again, we have the same client, same $20,000 premium annually for 20 years, same total investment of $300,000. So all things are equal when you look at the policies. However, when you look at the charges over the 20-year period, you'll see that the Mutual of Omaha, United of Omaha policy has one of the lowest fees compared to some of the other carriers that are out there. That is because we have designed this product to have the lowest fees possible within both of these IUL policies. This is just another example. It's a good illustration of what happens within the policy. So total premiums versus total charges over 20 years by carrier. So again, United of Omaha, where 27% is going for the fees, and then 73% is the premium is going to that accumulation value, which is what you want. This is why you buy an Income Advantage or a cash accumulation policy. You want the most money possible going towards that accumulation value. Now, when we look at a rolling 20-year average of the S&P 500 between 1950 and 2016, we wanted to see what the average crediting rate that would be needed to attain a cash value of $500,000 by year 20. So what this illustrates is that United of Omaha, on average, it would need 6.02% to get to $500,000 of cash value for this same client, where all the other carriers would need a higher interest credited. Now let's talk a little bit about index loans, because ours is just a little bit unique. Index loans are important on that cash accumulation product because that's why people are buying this. They want to be able to take out money via loans later on in life to be used for retirement income or to be used for college education, whatever it is. And companies typically use index loans to make the illustrations look better, but when the loan charge isn't guaranteed, the company can raise it by as much as they want. That could substantially impact the actual income the client could receive later on when they're taking distributions. So what we've done, we've put a cap on our loan charge. We want to make sure that the client knows exactly what they're getting and exactly what the maximum loan charge is going to be. So we guarantee these policies to have no higher than a 6% cap on the loan charge. And currently we're at 4% charge, and that's one of the lowest in the industry. So again, all of those loan charges, that again is making this product more competitive and perform better and more likely to perform as illustrated. We already talked about the guaranteed refund option rider and how, chances are it won't really matter. However, it is that guarantee. If the client should need that guarantee just to feel better about the product, the guaranteed option is there. Okay, so let's talk specifically about our second product. This is the Life Protection IUL product. Now, the long-term no-lapse protection premium, what this illustrates here is that premium guarantees the coverage to age 85. And you'll see that the guarantee goes beyond life expectancy for most clients. But beyond age 85, coverage is available on a non-guaranteed basis. However, let's kind of look at this here. First of all, let's talk about the rates. In April, we actually lowered our premiums for the guaranteed coverage to age 85 by as much as 25%. So you'll see for males and females from ages say 35 up to 75, how much we've lowered the premium. I want to point that out because our philosophy is when we release this, and this product hasn't been out there that long, we released it in 2017. If we don't have it right, we're not afraid to go ahead and make some modifications to make sure we do have the best product out there in the field for you to present and for your clients. So let's talk about these long-term no-lapse protection premiums for just a little bit, because I think this is important to look at, and it comes into play when you're talking about the protection IUL. Because the protection IUL, people are purchasing it for their life insurance first and foremost, but they also have that availability to add the long-term care rider on it. So this product is very important specifically for that. So if you look at the long-term no-lapse protection premium for United of Omaha's product, $8,750. This is for a male age 45 standard $1 million face amount. And if you look at some of the other carriers, there's some that are less and some that are higher. Also, the no-lapse guarantee protection to age, some of them are a little bit less, some of them are higher. And then look at the chart that says how long do the death benefits last, or projected to last to if the interest credited is 4%. So at 4% interest credited, just say for this policy, ours will last to age 97. Majority of the other carriers are less, except for John Hancock. It's projected to last longer. However, look at the difference in the premium. Same thing at a credit of 4.5%. Again, that gets that coverage projected to last to age way out there at 103. Again, compared to some of the other carriers, and John Hancock, of course, is at 125, and again, their premiums are a lot higher. And don't be afraid of these guarantees, because they can always pay a little bit more premium if they want to, and then it's going to illustrate and project out further. Okay, this product also has that guaranteed refund option, also has the accelerated death benefit for chronic illness, and excuse me, there's no changes to our low cost structure. I mean, both of these products are intended to have the lowest cost structure that is possible. So if you're not familiar with this IUL policies, I would definitely recommend visiting this website. This is our website, Discover IUL. Out there, there's some wonderful videos, some training material. It'll talk to you about how the interest is credited, how IULs actually work. So definitely take advantage of this site. It's very user-friendly. And you don't need to log in to get to this website. Just go ahead, log in, and or sign in or go to the website, and you'll be able to view all that material. Okay, so let's talk about our long-term care rider. So we released this product July 1st of this year. It's only available currently on our Income Advantage IUL and the Life Protection IUL. It is a reimbursement rider, so it's going to pay on the actual expenses for long-term care needs. And there's an opportunity to access all or a portion of the life benefit early for these covered long-term care expenses. So that's important. Say if they have a $500,000 policy, they can tailor the policy so that all $500,000 is available for long-term care, or they can simply say, I only want $400,000 available for long-term care, so that they maintain at least $100,000 in death benefit. Very important, and that added flexibility is just what clients are looking for these days. So the long-term care rider itself, it reimburses for covered long-term care services for bathing, continence, dressing, eating, toileting, transferring. So these are the 6 activities of daily living. So if they're unable to perform 2 of these activities of daily living, or they have a severe cognitive impairment, that qualifies them to access benefits from this long-term care rider. Now, there is a 90-day calendar day elimination period with this. It reimburses for nursing home, assisted living, home health care, adult daycare. There's also bed reservation, respite care, and hospice care. So bed reservation, if you're not familiar with that, that reserves your space for up to 30 calendar days a year in a nursing home or assisted living facility. So if they're in a nursing home, they have to leave the nursing home to actually go to a hospital. This benefit is going to reserve their space in that nursing home. Respite care, 1 month per calendar year with no elimination period, and then hospice care, there's no elimination period whatsoever. There's also care coordinator services. So it is a licensed healthcare provider that provides the care coordinator services. This person will help assess the needs of the client, develop a plan, and arrange for the long-term care services. This is optional. They don't have to use a care coordinator if they don't want to, but it is there available to them. And if they do use a care coordinator, they may be eligible for some stay-at-home benefits. So those stay-at-home benefits are items such as caregiver training, durable medical equipment, home modifications, and medical alerts. So again, optional if they want to use the care coordinator, but if they are looking for some stay-at-home benefits, maybe if they just had a wheelchair ramp and some wheelchair bars and maybe a stair lift put in their house, they could stay at home. It might be worth using this care coordinator to stay at home. Okay, so what happens to the life insurance part of it if they access long-term care benefits? Okay, so if the client never uses the long-term care rider benefits, their beneficiary is going to receive full death benefit. If the long-term care benefits are used, the death benefit is reduced dollar for dollar. So if we pay out $20,000 in long-term care benefits, the death benefit is going to reduce by $20,000. And then the accumulation value is reduced proportionately to the long-term care benefit received as well. So if the long-term care rider benefits are exhausted, there's no further long-term care rider benefits that are available. Okay. One thing to point out, they have to keep the life insurance in force. I mean, if they go on claim for long-term care, they don't have to pay the long-term care premiums anymore, but they do have to pay the premiums to keep the life insurance in force. So if a client is on long-term care claim, they're receiving long-term care benefits from us, and they let their life insurance policy lapse, we will continue to pay the long-term care benefits until they are exhausted, and then the policy will end. There's no death benefit left over, okay? Just so that's clear. But wanted to make sure I pointed that out to you because they're not going to lose their long-term care benefits if they're on claim and they let their life insurance policy lapse. So the client chooses the amount of long-term care benefit that they want, okay? So the maximum long-term care rider benefit amount is either, well, there's a minimum of $100,000, a maximum of $2 million at the 1% and 2% accelerator percentage, $1.25 million on the 4%, or the initial specified face amount if it's less. So let me give you an example. Okay, so let's say they choose a long-term care rider benefit amount of the $200,000. They choose a monthly accelerator percentage of 4%. That's going to give them a maximum monthly benefit for long-term care of $8,000. If they have a $300,000, they choose 2%. That's going to give them $6,000 maximum monthly. And as you can see, the maximum monthly that they could ever get would be $50,000 per month. Now, I want to point out to you that even though they have the, say, $300,000 in a maximum monthly benefit and the 2% acceleration, remember, this is a reimbursement rider. So if their charges don't reach $6,000 in this instance, they're just going to have more money later on to use at a future time. Or if they go over, you know, if it's $7,000, their actual charge, we're only going to reimburse $6,000. So keep that in mind when you're talking to your clients about the monthly acceleration percentage, because even if they do accelerate, say, $40,000 in a maximum monthly benefit and they don't use it all, it's going to be there later in the future, and if they don't use it all, they get that back in the form of their, in addition to their death benefit. Okay, so keep that in mind. So the cost for this is an upfront cost versus the chronic accelerated rider that we have on the policy. That's at no cost. Okay, the cost is a monthly cost of insurance. And the cost of insurance for the long-term care rider is guaranteed not to increase. So that's where there might be an advantage over a traditional long-term care policy because these rates are locked in. They're not going to increase. Where traditional long-term care, there's a potential that the rates could increase in the future. And then once they're receiving these long-term care rider benefits, the rider charges are waived. and the life insurance policy, and if there's any other riders on the policy, will need to continue. They'll need to continue paying those premiums. This is available for ages 30 through 79. It's not available for above a Table 4 underwriting class on the life part of it, or if they have flat extras. We do have a separate underwriting risk classes from the life insurance policy. So the long-term care, there's only 4 risk classes: preferred, standard, standard, class 1, substandard, class 2. There's a separate underwriting guide. The nice thing is that the underwriting for the long-term care is done by the life underwriters. So there's no pass-off between life underwriter and long-term care underwriter. It's the same person, which definitely will speed up underwriting and avoid miscommunications during handoff. The accelerated death benefit for chronic illness, as I mentioned, it's included with this policy, but if they apply for the long-term care rider and they're declined, they will still get that chronic illness rider on their policy. Or if they just don't choose to apply for long-term care, they'll still get this chronic illness rider on the policy. So that's a huge advantage for you as an agent out there in the field talking to clients. You're talking about Mutual of Omaha. You're talking about how strong, stable, and secure we are. The clients are comfortable with Mutual of Omaha because of that. And if by chance they do get declined for the long-term care, you can reassure them that they are going to have this chronic illness accelerated rider built in. That way you don't have to switch to another carrier. So we're one of the only carriers that offer this flexibility. Okay. And with this chronic illness rider, there's no age, face amount, or risk class limits. Okay, so keep that in mind as well. So other features and highlights, the targets, minimums, no lapse premiums will increase in conjunction with the rider. Okay, so it's kind of all in one. So if they have the rider on here, it all increases the total premium. Grow rider is still available on all policies. It's approved, the long-term care rider is approved in most states. We have not received approval from California, Florida, Hawaii, Montana, New Jersey. Those states typically take a longer time to get approved. We are still waiting approval on Delaware, DC, Indiana, North Dakota, and Virginia, and we do expect those soon. And as soon as they are, we'll go ahead and release those in those particular states. Okay, so here's just some example of the long-term care rider information and underwriting guide. It's a fabulous underwriting guide. There's a wealth of information out there. This is what the client brochure looks like. We also have presentations that you can view. They're brain chart presentations. It talks about an overview of long-term care, the difference between reimbursement versus indemnity, and then some planning tools when you're talking to people about long-term care, the long-term care rider on the life insurance, and what they need to know. So I would definitely recommend looking at these brain charts. There are some producer sales ideas out there as well, as far as helping the clients protect their assets and leaving an inheritance, selling the long-term care rider, the chronic illness as a backup, licensing requirements, because you do need to be long-term care certified in order to sell the long-term care rider. So make sure you glance at that material, make sure that you are ready to sell. And you can find all of this marketing material as well as those brain charts that I told you about on this website right here. And again, there's no login that's needed. It's www.mutualofomaha.com/LTC-rider. And again, on that website, you can look at all of the brain charts. You're also going to be able to look at some of the cost of care brochures, and there's even a calculator out there based on the state or just a national average, assuming inflation and what care might be needed in the future for your clients. So definitely take advantage of all of these tools that are available to you, and offer the income advantage or the life protection advantage to your life insurance clients that may be looking for long-term care, either the chronic illness or the long-term care rider. Now, you know, these long-term care riders, they're gaining in popularity over traditional long-term care. I happen to like traditional long-term care, but I also like these riders because I think there's a place for both of those policies in your agents, in your briefcase when you're talking to clients. With this life insurance protection with the rider, you can overcome some of the objections of traditional long-term care. What if I never use it? Why am I going to pay for something that I'm never going to use? Those type of objections. And because of the cost of the rider being guaranteed for the life of the policy, that's another positive for the long-term care rider. Okay, so with that, I'll open it up to any questions that the group might have.
If you'd like to ask a question, if you could just type it in on the chat screen there, then we can pose the question to Sandy and answer any questions that you may have. Let's give everybody a minute or two to do that and see if anybody has any questions. So this is the second series of webinars that we've done with Sandy. We actually have another one scheduled for next week as well. So if you're interested, there'll be an invite that will be coming out, and you'll be able to join us for another webinar on Wednesday, September 5th. So look for that invite to come out. We'd love to have you on the call for that one as well. I do have a couple questions for you here, Sandy. Do you guys have a time frame for approval in Florida yet?
No, not yet. We filed it with all the rest of the states, and we're just at their mercy as far as when they will approve it.
Okay. And then the LTC certification just has a question on the best way to get certified for LTC.
Long-term care certifications, I do have some information on our website of how to do that. It's just a long-term care training class, like CE credits that you need to take. So if you'd like, Brad, I can send you over kind of a flyer on LTC continuing education training, and you can provide that to the group.
Perfect. That'll work great.
Okay.
And anything about California or any chances of California approval, I guess, was the other question that I had as well that I missed.
Oh, I would expect it would be quite a while. Usually when we file a product in the state of California, it usually takes a year to 2 years and sometimes longer. Unfortunately, again, we're just at their mercy.
Okay, thank you. That looks like all the questions for the moment anyway, so want to thank everybody for attending today's webinar. And we did record the webinar, so if you would like the recording of that, speak to your agent success manager and they'd be happy to get that over to you. And thanks again, Sandy, for joining us today, and we'll talk to you again next week.
Okay, thank you, Brad.
Have a good day, everybody. Thank you.